My name's Daniel. I'm 35, a full-time software engineer part-time, single dad, and a guy who doesn't start fights. But if you bring one at my door, I'll finish it. I live with my 8-year-old daughter, Lily, in a small but cozy apartment just outside Minneapolis. She's my whole world. Always has been, always will be, really wasn't planned for my Mom and I were in college, she got pregnant, and we tried to make it work. It didn't. She left when Lily was 2, packed her bags, said she needed to find herself, and never looked back. Haven't heard from her in years. So it's been me and Lily bedtime stories, school pickups, midnight fevers, first day of school, nurse, and honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. She's smart, sensitive, brave, and the kind of kid who always gives you the last piece of candy, even if it's her favorite flavor. But this story isn't about how amazing Lily, yes. It's about my sister Chelsea. Now Chelsea, she's the kind of person who says something hurtful, then follows it up with relax, it's just a joke. She's been that way since we were kids, competitive, manipulative, always needing to be the center of attention. But with a perfect smile and just enough charm to make people excuse it. She married well, her husband's a dentist, they live in a huge house in a gated suburb, and have 2 golden retrievers named after European cities, and they love reminding everyone just how put together they are. Family holidays are always at their place. Now Thanksgiving, Chelsea's Christmas, Chelsea's. She plans everything down to the color of the napkins. And that's where this all began. It was Thanksgiving, the usual chaos, kids running around, my dad sneaking beers in the garage, my mom frantically trying to fix the cranberry sauce Chelsea made from a painter. Este recipe. Lily was in the living room with the other kids watching some animated movie when Chelsea pulled me aside. She smiled sweetly and handed me a small glittery gift back. Early gift for Lily, she said. I saw it and couldn't resist. I thanked her, a little confused, and walked over to Lily. She opened the back, pulled out a shirt. It was pink too. Tiny and across the front it said, in sparkly silver letters, Hoops Baby. There was a pause. Being Chelsea burst out laughing. Her husband chuckled. My mom actually snorted. Even my dad, who usually stays out of his stuff, let out a little laugh. But Lily, she held the shirt up, frowning. Daddy, what does it mean? I stared at the words like they'd punch me in the face. I could feel my ears go hot, my jaw locked up. But I didn't say a thing. I just took the shirt out of her hands, folded it and placed the back in the back. Then I looked at Chelsea. She had that same smirk she always did when we were kids, like she'd want something. Oh, come on, Danny, she said, rolling her eyes. It's just a joke, don't be so sensitive. I stayed quiet. I always did keep the peace, swallow the embarrassment. But that night as I tucked Lily into bed, and she asked again softly what boobs baby meant, something inside me snapped. I didn't yell, I didn't lose it. But I did make a decision, Chelsea, and laughed at my daughter. In front of everyone, reduced her to a punchline for being born in everyone law at her. So I decided this Christmas I wasn't bringing dessert, I was bringing the truth. In Chelsea, she had no idea what kind of present was coming our way after Thanksgiving. I couldn't stop thinking about that shirt. It wasn't just the words, it was the smug delivery. Way Chelsea acted like she'd scored some kind of twisted passive-aggressive touchdown down at my daughter's expense. It's in worse. The rest of the family laughed with her. No one did up, no one pulled her aside. They all just let it slide. I let it slide too on the outside. But in my head I was going through every memory I had of Chelsea. And then something came back, a conversation I'd forgotten for years. I was about 20, home for the summer. Mom had a little too much short nap after dinner and started rambling, as she did, somewhere between gossiping about neighbors and reminiscing about her wild years. She muttered something like, sometimes I wonder what your father would have done if he knew everything from the start, especially about Chelsea. At the time I thought it was just one talk, maybe even a joke. Now it sounded a lot less funny. So I started looking at things differently. Chelsea doesn't look much like our dad. She never did. She's got this lean build, light blonde hair, light hazel eyes. Dad and I are built like bricks, stocky, dark-haired, olive-skinned. People always said I look like Dad's clone. Nobody said that about her, and that weird silent dynamic between them. Dad never disciplined her, Mom defended her like a PR rep in crisis mode. It was like there was this unspoken rule Chelsea couldn't be criticized. I started wondering, was there a reason for that? So I ordered a DNA kit, one of those sibling ones. I know it sounds extreme, but I needed to know. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized how far I was willing to go. The tricky part, getting her sample. I figured the next family dinner would be the opportunity. Sure enough, 2 weeks before Christmas, my parents hosted a little get-together, just dinner. Chelsea and her husband showed up in matching sweaters. I brought wine and a plan after dinner. I offered to help clear the table. Chelsea's wine glass was right there half, for she wandered off to the living room. I slipped into Ziploc bag and shoved it into my coat pocket. I had already prepped everything at home, my toothbrush, the forms, gloves. I carefully followed every instruction, mailed it all out the next day. Then I waited 12 days later. The results landed in my inbox. We were only half siblings. Let me say that again because my brain needed it to sink into. Only half siblings. Suddenly everything clicked. The favoritism, the weird silences, the way Dad never quite looked at her the same way he looked at me. But I wasn't done. If we were half siblings, it meant she wasn't Dad's kid. And if she wasn't Dad's, whose was she there? Was one way to know for sure. I dug into my savings, upgraded the test for paternity screening, and mailed off another kid, this time using an older toothbrush for my dad's guest bathroom. He always keeps spares for when Lily and I stay over. I also requested an express turnaround. It was ready 3 days before Christmas. I didn't open the results immediately. I sat at my desk for a while just staring at the envelope, not because I was nervous, but because I was calm, almost too calm. He felt surgical clean, like flipping the last piece of a puzzle, not to discover a surprise, but to confirm something I already knew deep down. I opened it. Dad was not Chelsea's biological father. There was plain as day the family joke queen who humiliated my daughter in front of the whole family. He was the punchline now. I didn't say a word. I just sealed the results back up, slipped them into a crisp white envelope, tied it with a festive ribbon, and wrote her name on the front in my cleanest handwriting. I knew exactly when I give it to her. Christmas Day, right after Desert Christmas Day, at Chelsea's house, always felt like a performance. The perfect tree, the curator Spotify playlist, even the dogs had matching outfits. She ran the day like a CEO running a press conference, smiles, polished every detail, stage to impress. But this time I was ready for the real show. I brought 2 gifts, one for Lily, a Lego castle set she been dreaming about for months, one for Chelsea, the envelope we are. Arrived late afternoon. Lily ran off to play with the other kids. I did my rounds, shook hands, give my folks polite hogs, try not to look at my mom-to-law. I wondered if she knew, if she had always known, if that wind-drunk confession all those years ago had just slipped through the cracks of a decades-old secret dinner pass without drama. Chelsea was in her element, cracking jokes, pouring wine, throwing little jabs at me that most people wouldn't catch, like when she said, "So how's dating life, Danny?" Still scaring them off with the whole single dad thing. Laughter. I smiled, didn't bite, just biding my time. After Desert, the gifts came out, kids open. This first, Chelsea made a show of it, passing things out, clapping as her twins ripped into boxes. Then came the adult sweaters, socks, gift cards, polite smiles, and awkward thank yous. I waited until the energy had died down, and then I stood up. "I have one last gift," I said it for Chelsea. Thought long and hard about this one. I walked across the room and handed her the envelope. She tilted her head. "You didn't have to get me anything." "I did," I said. "Open it." She peeled the ribbon off, slid the paper out, and read the first few lines. Her face changed immediately. I watched it happen in slow motion. Her mouth twitched, her hands shook just slightly. She looked at me, then at our mom, being back at the page. What is this?" It voice tight. "It's a paternity test," I replied calmly. Turns out we're half siblings. Silence. Not even the kids made a sound. I looked at my dad. His expression hadn't changed, but I saw something flicker behind his eyes, something cold, something sad. Chelsea stood up, waving the paper like it was on fire. "This is insane. What are you even trying to say?" "I'm not saying anything," I replied. "The test says it. You're not Dad's daughter. You might want to ask Mom about that." Mom's face drained of color. Her wine glass slipped from her hand and hit the carpet. Chelsea's husband, quiet this whole time, just stared at her. "I don't understand," Chelsea stammered. "This can't be real." "It is," I said. "You caught my daughter a mistake in front of everyone, so I thought it was time we talk about your origin story." The room cracked in half. After that, my dad got up and left the room without saying a word. Mom tried to chase after him, but he slammed the front door behind him. Chelsea started crying loudly, ugly. Her husband just sat back in his chair, hands folded, eyes locked on her. I picked up Lily, told everyone Merry Christmas, and walked out. As I was buckling her into a booster seat, she looked up at me and said, "Daddy, what happened?" I smiled and said, "Santa just gave someone a very big surprise." She giggled. The world felt quiet again, but I knew the storm was just beginning. You'd think that after a moment like that, where a decades-long lie explodes in front of your entire family, things would go quiet for a while. None of my family. The next morning, I woke up to 6 missed calls from my mom, 2 from Chelsea, and 1 for my dad. That one surprised me. I call Then back, Thursby answered on the second ring, voice flat. You've got proof, yeah. I said run the test twice. There was a pause, then she was already pregnant when we got married. He said, I knew it. But she swore. He trailed off. I didn't say anything. What can I say? He sighed. I need to think. Don't answer your mother's calls. Click later that day. I got a single text from Chelsea. How could you do this to me? I didn't answer because… Here's the thing, this wasn't something I did to. This was the truth. She built her whole life on unraveling. And sure, maybe I was the one who pulled the thread, but she's the one who wore a sweater made of lies. Mom, meanwhile, tried every trick in the book. She left voicemails, crying one message, yelling another, pretending like none of this was a big deal. She even tried to guilt trip me about family unity and how I destroy the holidays, right? Because I'm the one who stepped down on a marriage and raised another man's child for 30 years like nothing happened. My dad, to his credit, didn't spiral. He got quiet, went into what I call legal mode 2 days after Christmas. He emailed me, not texted, emailed. Said he was reviewing his will and wanted to meet in person. We met at a diner halfway between our houses. He looked tired, older somehow, like this revelation had aged him 10 years and 3 days. He thanked me, said he wished he'd known sooner. Then he dropped this. I'm removing Chelsea from everything, the house, the trust, the estate. She's not my daughter. I blinked. Are you sure I raised her? He said. But not once did she ever make me feel like a father. I always thought I was the problem. Now I know it wasn't me. He looked me square in the eyes. I wanted all the go to you. And Lily, I nodded. We didn't hug. We're not really a hugging kind of duel. But the weight in the air shifted. It felt like we were finally seeing each other clearly. On the way out, he paused. You did what I should have done years ago, faced it. Meanwhile, Chelsea's perfect little world began crumbling. Her husband, turns out, had already suspected something was off. He told her he felt manipulated for years, like everything was a performance, and now knowing her entire identity was a lie, he asked for space. And then, a few days later, a paternity test of his own for their 2 kids. That's when things got brutal. One of them wasn't his. Word got out. Her towns, not huge people talk. Chelsea went from golden girl to town gossip overnight, for social media turned into a ghost town. She stopped posting entirely, and our mom, she went radio silent. I heard from my aunt that dad had kicked her out, said she could stay with her sister until she figured her next. Like I wasn't celebrating any of it. But I won't lie, I slept better at bedtime. Lily hugged me tight and whispered, you're my favorite person, Daddy. I whispered back, you're my whole world, sweetheart. Then I turned out the lights and left the shirt, the one Chelsea gave her, folded neatly in a trash bag by the curb. The strange thing about telling the truth, it doesn't just reveal things, it reshaped them. In the weeks after Christmas, the entire dynamic of our family twisted into something unrecognizable. The power Chelsea used to wield, those backhanded compliments, the smug superiority, the smog air she way, more like perfume, gone. She tried to rebuild it, sent a group text to the whole family pretending like nothing had happened. Hey everyone, hope we're all moving forward with grace and laugh. Let's put the past behind us. No one responded. Even Mom stayed quiet, because the truth wasn't something you could forward past. It had teeth, and it had already been deep. A few days later, I got a message from Chelsea's husband, not a call or text. Can we meet? I think we should talk. We met at a park cafe near my office. I wasn't sure what he wanted. Maybe he was angry. Maybe he wanted to swing. But when I saw him, he looked broken, tired, confused, like a man who just realized he built his entire adult life on sad. I just wanted to thank you, he said quietly. That caught me off guard. He told me he'd been feeling it for years. But something was off, that Chelsea had always made him feel like a backup plan, like she was waiting for something better. And after the DNA results, he wasn't just questioning her parenting, he was questioning everything. I think she never really loved me, he said. He just picked me because it looked good. He looked down at his coffee. You think people change after something like this? I thought about that, then shook my head. I think people reveal who they really are. That same week, my mom finally called again. I answered. She sounded exhausted, said she was staying with her sister, that she and dad weren't speaking, that Chelsea was spiraling. She didn't now ask how. Lily was never once mentioned. A shirt, never apologized. She just said, you didn't have to blow it up like that. I said, you let her humiliate my daughter in front of everyone. She's your sister. She snapped. She's not dad's daughter, I replied. And after what she did, she's not my sister either. Click. That was the last time we spoke. Lily, for her part, bounced back beautifully, better than I expected. I told her carefully that the shirt wasn't a nice gift, that some people say mean things and try to call it a joke, but it still hurts, that it's okay to walk away from people who don't treat you Kindly, even if they're family. She looked up at me and said, "Does that mean we don't see at Chelsea anymore?" I nodded. "That's right." She smiled good. "She smells like hairspray and yells at Urdox." I laughed harder than I hadn't weeks. Kids always know. Meanwhile, that invited us over for dinner, just me and Lily, just as three. He grilled steaks, set the table himself, even made a salad, which is terrible at, but I appreciate the effort. We ate, talked, watched Lily draw dinosaurs with crayons on his own placemats. At one point, he looked at me and said, "I know, I wasn't always the best father you were." I said, "You are." He nodded. "Well, I'm trying again with Lily. Want to make sure she grows up knowing she's loved." It got me. I almost teared up, but I swallowed it. Truth is, I don't think my dad knew how to show love until recently. Maybe because he thought he'd feel the first time. Maybe because the lie he lived with made him feel like less of a man now he was free. And so was I. It's amazing how much silence can say when all the noise gone. In the weeks that followed, there were no more awkward group texts, no forced invitations, no fear smiles at family dinners, just space. Heavy cleansing space. Chelsea tried a few times to claw her way back into the spotlight, posted vague quotes on Instagram, stuff like "strong women rise from ashes." And sometimes the black sheep was the truth teller, all the law cute, except she was never the black sheep. She was the flame that scorched everyone around. Her husband filed for divorce, and a kicker, one of their kids wasn't biologically his. That test came back about a month after my quietly. No fireworks, just a lawyer's letter in a custody modification. I heard through my aunt that he's going for full custody of the child, that his and plans to leave Chelsea with the other one and nothing else. Mom went into full bunker mode. She didn't return anyone's calls for a while, then re-emerged with this whole speech about how everyone makes mistakes and how we have to hold on a family, especially now. But something had shifted in my dad to be filed to officially him, and as well left everything, the house, the land, the family trust, to me and Lily. Or I didn't ask for that. I didn't even want it. But it meant something, not the money, not the assets, the gesture. For the first time in a long time, my father chose me. I got a call from Chelsea one night. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Her voice was flat, no venom, no fixed weakness. "You destroyed my life," she said. I paused, being said, "No. No, I revealed it. You blindsided me," she whispered. I let that hang in the air. "You made a joke out of my daughter." I said, "I'm not like you. I don't do petty digs and passive swipes. I go for the truth. And I don't miss." She didn't reply. So I added, "You humiliated an 8-year-old girl. You didn't even say sorry." Click. Lily doesn't ask about Chelsea anymore. She barely remember the shirt. Kids are merciful that way. They move forward. They don't drag her like adults do. She's been more confident lately, happier, like a shadow got lifted. And maybe that sounds dramatic, but when someone in your family constantly throws subtle jabs, even a child can feel the tension under the surface. She told me one day, while we were building her Lego castle, "I like it when it's just us. It feels safe." And in that moment, every doubt I'd ever had about being a single dad vanished. We still see my dad. Lily calls him Grandpa Joe now. Not just Grandpa, it's a little thing. But he lights up every time she says it. He's been showing her how to build little bird houses. Says he wants to pass. I'm thinking down, not money, not land, something real, skills, time, affection. I can't tell if he's doing it to make up for the years he lost with Chelsea, with the years he ignored with me, maybe both. But I know this, he's trying. And in this family, try means everything. Mom hasn't called since the will was changed last. I heard she was rethinking her place in the family. I think the truth finally caught up to her. It tends to do that. I used to think revenge was loud slam doors, screaming matches, one-liners, and epic walkouts. But now I realize the best revenge is just the truth delivered at the right time. With no need to raise your voice. Sometimes all it takes is an envelope. It's B. A few months now. Chelsea's house for sale. I saw the listing online.